Great quotes by John Densmore. John Densmore, American musician drummer of The Doors, born 1944. Don't forget subscribe. Money is like fertilizer. When spread around, things grow. When it's hoarded, it stinks. I like connecting new synapses, like Jim Morrison did. I remember thinking, why is Jim's face so big? On the cover of our first album, The Doors, probably because it wouldn't have sold a lot of copies if it were my face. The whole world is hopefully heading toward democracy. I got C's in English at school. I hated it, but now I want to be a writer, and I'm voracious for new vocabulary and new ideas. We used to build our cities and towns around churches. Now banks are at the centers of our densely populated areas. I like driving at least a part-time electric car because there's nothing coming out of the tailpipe. That's very important to me. If somebody makes a really wonderful ecological car, I'm down, no matter where it comes from. In the 50s, West LA was like Kansas. I had no clue of Hollywood until I became a teenager. Then I got a fake ID in Tijuana and discovered Shelley's Manhole on Cahuenga and Selma, where I saw John Coltrane and his piano player, McCoy Tyner, and Elvin Jones, the drummer, my idol. In the 60s, the Sunset Strip became insane. The sidewalks and the traffic were jammed. It was a renaissance. Well, I've discovered that I really like writing, and I feel that I'm good at it. When I do a press roll, I use the traditional grip. Sometimes I flip it around. For a louder crack on the 2 and 4, I use the new grip. You know, another jazz drummer, Ed Thigpen, who played with Oscar Peterson way back. It was the first time I ever heard rivets in a cymbal. And then I heard that Chico Hamilton had them too. And I went, oh, that's it. I'm taking that for my sound. And it worked well on Riders on the Storm. So that's one thing. I don't like totally free jazz unless it's done by somebody like Coltrane, who did bebop and cool jazz, so he was allowed to go out there. At the risk of sounding grandiose, I will say that, to me, rock and roll is sacred. One has to always be on guard, because mega success comes up behind you when you're high from all the attention and sucks the vitality out of one's creativity. Everyone is so desperate to get attention for their project, they will do almost anything, and the corporate world has always encouraged this. When rock loses integrity, it's time for renewal. Everybody is a seeker to a degree. It's your inner life that's the most important. In my old age, I've learned that if I put the right cymbal crash in the very right spot, exactly, it can be as powerful as all my show-off drum rolls in my 20s. I'm not the fastest drummer in the world, but I'm very into dynamics and knowing that there's space in between the notes, and you got to breathe. You hear a Willie Nelson solo, he doesn't play real fast, but it's so melodic and beautiful. It's kind of, to be human is to have space and not show all your stuff all the time. Jim Morrison wrote the words for Hello, I Love You when we were still in a band called Rick and the Ravens. Jim was Dionysus, but it took 3 Apollos to balance that Dionysian energy. He was a force. Creativity and self-destruction sometimes come in the same package. Ray grew up in Chicago, so he had the blues, Muddy Waters, and all that. He also had classical training. That was pretty cool. That was invoked in the intro to Light My Fire, which was very kind of Bach-like. Robbie had a flamenco and folk music background. I was so enamored with watching Robbie's fingers crawl across the flamenco guitar strings like a crab. Echo and the Bunnymen just copied "People Are Strange," which is cool. We made some money, thanks. But when an artist finds a new interpretation of one of your songs, that's great. It turns your head around. I love the spectrum of emotions in classical music, from fortissimo to pianissimo. Jim had melodies and lyrics in his head, and he would sing them a cappella, and we would eke out the arrangements. For us, anyone can record our songs. Anyone can cover our songs. Writing is looking for music between sentences. I really wanted to be in love. They were making it, but I was in the demon doors. We were not folk rock. We would scare people. Every new generation seems to have to go through its door's rite of passage. The doors are etched on my forehead and always will be. The Stones without Mick, the Police without Sting, the Doors without Jim. It doesn't work. The Doors are Ray, Robbie, Jim, and John. As long as there's young people, they can look to Jim to help them cut the umbilical cord. Jim had a spirit that was incapable of compromise. I've hung out and performed with many Native American musicians, and my experience is that the First Peoples of this land are incredibly open, warm, and forgiving. I like to drum for various theatrical things. Painters see the world, musicians hear it. Jazz musicians are spiritual by nature. Sound is everything to a musician. Certainly, we are all on the shoulders of those who fought for our country, but the First Peoples of this land justifiably might feel bitterness. Thanks for watching. Don't forget subscribe.